The heat struck first, an angry wave rolling across the street like the breath of a monster. Smoke curled upward, staining the morning sky with a desperate gray, and people ran in panicked circles outside the burning apartment building. In the middle of the chaos, with sirens still far away and flames crackling like they were alive, a single dad named Rand Cole stood frozen for just a heartbeat before instinct snapped him into action. He didn't know who was trapped inside, didn't know whose screams were echoing behind the broken windows. He only knew that someone needed help. And without hesitation, without thinking about his past, his failure, or the job he had just lost, he sprinted straight toward the fire. If you believe kindness and second chances can change lives, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Kindness Chronicles. Your support helps us create more stories that matter. Ryan's mornings had never been easy, even before the fire. The day had begun like every other, sunlight spilling into the small rented room he shared with his 7-year-old son, Aries, the sounds of traffic mixing with the rustling of worn clothes and school books, and the heavy weight of responsibility pressing on his shoulders from the moment he woke up. He had been laid off just 10 days earlier from Brighton Tech Industries, a company he had worked for faithfully for 5 years. Despite his dedication, despite taking extra shifts, and never complaining, he had been dismissed without warning during a restructuring. The CEO, a sharp, ambitious, unreachable woman named Marissa Hale, had been the one to sign off on the cuts. Ryan had never met her personally, but her name haunted him. To him, she wasn't a person, she was the symbol of his downfall. Since losing the job, every morning had been a battle between hope and despair. Aries tried to be cheerful, unaware of the full gravity of the situation, offering small smiles and quiet comfort whenever he sensed his father sinking. But bills didn't care about smiles. Rent didn't care about hope. The world kept demanding, and Ryan kept giving. Scrapping. Searching for any odd job he could find. That morning he had been on his way to a temporary gig unloading delivery vans when the fire erupted ahead of him, blocking the street and filling the air with frantic shouting. It wasn't heroism that pushed him forward, it was something deeper, something raw and instinctive. Maybe it was the years of being a single father, of being the one who always had to step up, the one who had to stay strong no matter what. Or maybe it was the simple truth that, even when life treated him harshly, Ryan believed he couldn't walk away from someone in need. He rushed into the entrance hallway, coughing as smoke clawed at his lungs. It was dark, unbearably hot, and the roar of flames felt like standing beside a jet engine. But he pressed forward, shielding his face with his jacket as he scanned the floor for movement. Through the haze, he saw a figure collapsed at the base of the stairs, one arm weakly trying to push upward. He didn't think he moved. The woman was disoriented, her breath shallow, her eyes fluttering open just long enough to reveal a look of desperate fear. Ryan scooped her up, feeling how light she was compared to the fire's heavy heat. He wrapped his jacket around her face and carried her out of the building, stumbling as the flames licked the walls behind him. Bursting through the doorway, he emerged into daylight, trembling and coughing violently, with the woman still cradled in his arms. The crowd gasped. Paramedics rushed to them. Ryan laid the woman on a stretcher, only now noticing how familiar she looked. How elegantly structured her features were even beneath the suit. How her expensive watch was still clinging to her wrist despite the chaos. A strange chill went through him. He waited, breathing heavily, until one of the medics said her name aloud to confirm her ID. Marissa Hale, the CEO who had fired him. The woman whose signature had pushed him to the edge of financial ruin. And he had just saved her life. In that moment, standing among strangers, sweat mixing with ash, Ryan felt the ground shift beneath him. He expected anger to rise inside him, expected resentment or a bitter sense of irony, but instead he felt an overwhelming wave of disbelief and confusion. Fate had a strange way of weaving lives together, even when they had no desire to meet. He walked away from the scene slowly, refusing the crowd's praise, unwilling to linger. He had done what he believed was right, but he didn't want to stand beside the woman who represented one of the hardest blows of his life. 2 days passed before the unexpected happened. Ryan was sitting outside the community center where Aris took his art classes, scrolling through job listings that seemed more discouraging with every refresh when a black car stopped in front of him. A driver stepped out, but before he could speak, the back door opened, and Marissa Hale herself emerged, bandaged lightly, dressed simply, walking with slow but determined steps. Ryan immediately stood, unsure of what to expect. She approached him with a quiet seriousness that revealed something he had never imagined in her humility. She told him she remembered everything, from the smoke to the moment she saw his face before collapsing. She told him she had searched for him the moment she regained consciousness, determined to thank the stranger who had carried her out of the fire. When he admitted that she had fired him, she went silent for a long moment, visibly shaken. She said the layoffs were part of a board-mandated restructuring and she had been forced to sign off on names she barely had time to look at. She admitted she had never thought about the individual stories, the families behind those signatures, until she became one of those vulnerable individuals herself, helpless, dependent on the mercy of a stranger with every reason not to help her. And Ryan, looking at the sunlight pouring into the room, at his son's laughter, at the peace settling over his once aching heart, realized that sometimes life didn't give second chances, it gave new beginnings disguised as tragedies. If this story touched your heart, please don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Kindness Chronicles. Your engagement helps us reach more hearts around the world. Special request: comment kindness wins if you believe compassion can change lives. As Ryan stepped into the future he once feared, he understood something deeply, something beautifully simple. The fire had taken nothing from him, it had given everything back.